Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's segment of Star Watch, where we take a look at the upcoming week's astrological transits. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jane. Thank you so much for being here. If you're not new here, welcome back. We're super happy to have you here. I think this week is going to feel, in a lot of ways, like a sense of relief because we've got this Venus going direct, finally. And we also have a new moon coming up on the 1st. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, I pulled the chart for today. So we're sitting at January 26th, right, 2022. The sun today is at 6 degrees of Aquarius. Venus is at, I have to go, let's go straight to Venus here because I don't know about you guys, but I am so glad that she is going direct because... oh, dear Lord. It was such a doozy of a transit for me, including, for me, it was financial and it was health stuff. For you, it could have been, a relationship or a partnership, or it could have been, a case or a situation in a courtroom that may have not been going super great. I'm not quite sure exactly how it manifested for you, but I think we all can feel this daunting Venus retrograde that got a little bit colder than I think I was expecting to start turning things around. Now, she's sitting at 11 degrees, 13 minutes. And if I just fast forward just a couple of days, she goes direct on the 29th. Okay, so I'm sitting in Central Time in the United States. I pulled it up for 9:05, which is right now. Where is she? Okay, and now she's going to be going direct. 11 degrees, 4 minutes. So you can see between the 13 minutes that she's at today and the 4 minutes that she'll be at when she goes direct, I mean, this is like a very, very, very minuscule movement that she's doing over the next few days. Barely moving. So I think that over the next few days, you'll start to feel like, okay, this particular trajectory in which we started the year off with is starting to turn around, and things, your situation, your issues, your concerns, your worries, your anxieties, whatever it is, that those things are starting to turn around. And I'll use that phrase very specifically because it's very poetic given the fact that Venus is going direct. So things are turning around. Now, she happens to be going direct on the day that the moon is in Capricorn. Now, remember, the moon is building up to her new moon in Aquarius on the 1st, which is going to be happening very close to Saturn. Like, again, let me just fast forward the clock a couple days here. We have February 1st. And here we have now, again, I'm not pulling up the specific time here, so just bear with me on this. But the new moon is going to be around 12 degrees of Aquarius, which is just a few degrees off of Saturn. So the Saturnian energy that Capricorn has brought, not only because it was Capricorn season through the majority of January, but also the Venus retrograde, which brought a very real Saturnian quality into things. This new moon, I feel, is kind of like starting to utilize the Saturnian energy in a way that is more progressive, hence the Aquarian archetype, in a way that is more productive, in a way that actually promotes growth rather than restrictiveness. Aquarius is more outward, where Capricorn can be a little bit more inward. So let me go back here to the 29th. So we have Venus here at 11 degrees, 4 minutes going direct. We have Mars at 3 degrees of Capricorn, and we also have the moon coming through. And the moon is going to come conjunct Mars. It's going to come conjunct Venus as well. And this conjunction, this day, January 29th, there may be a little bit of volatility because we know that when the moon comes conjunct Mars, there can be a little bit of spikeage, a little bit of up and down, but that's okay. I think that it will feel like a breath of fresh air. It will feel like there's this new vital energy being breathed into certain aspects of our life, and that we can actually, focus a little bit more and have a little bit more control in the areas where we really didn't have a lot of control. So the moon comes through, activates Mars, activates Venus, and then it's going to be coming on the 30th and active. Here's the 30th. So here's the moon right here, activating the Mercury retrograde and the Pluto. So I would say that January 29th and 30th are going to be days. Now that's Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. Those are going to be days where, I mean, some of you are going to be really productive and you're going to really feel it and it's going to feel great and things are going to start cracking open for you and there's going to be a lot of creativity, and that's going to be one set. And then another set of people is going to feel like, you know what, I just need to take these few days to just breathe. I need to just like allow the energy to kind of turn over a little bit, you know, and so allow yourself to do that, whichever end of the spectrum that you fall, because I know that everyone responds to energy so differently because of their natal chart placement. So just honor what you're feeling here. The moon, she's coming up to kind of clean up the Venus retrograde mess, if you will. I don't want to call it a mess, and I don't want to project that because not everyone had all these dramatic things happen. But whatever needs cleaning up, I think the moon comes through and adds that emotional healing property. There could be a physical healing property, or there could be a gain of some kind that occurs to sort of help balance out the void that was created by a little bit of Venus stuff. So wherever that is, whatever that means, I would just allow whatever needs to happen to happen. It's not a good time to dishonor what's going on in your life, and it's especially not a good time to dishonor what's going on in your body in terms of your intuition, in terms of your energy levels, in terms of, you know, where you feel like you want to go or where you feel like you want to be. Honor as best as you can what's really going on. I think listening to your intuition over the course of the weekend as you prepare for this new moon, because the moon is getting darker here. She's moving into her dark moon phase. So as she prepares for that, you can consciously create space for something new to be generated, for something new to be brought in to replace the things that have gone out. So let me just fast forward a little bit here. Okay, so I'll do this for January 31st because this is just kind of right before the new moon here. Moon coming into Aquarius. We have the sun in Aquarius. We have Saturn here. So this, again, a very Saturnian new moon. But it's Aquarius Saturn. It's a totally different kind of Saturn than Capricorn. Like Saturn is not just all, like as much as he can represent being put in a box, he himself cannot truly be put in a box. He has his own duality. He has his own positive and negatives. He has his own light and dark. And I think when he comes in through Aquarius, as he is responsible for pushing the boundary out further and further and further. Still a boundary here. It's only when we get into Pisces where the boundary just completely falls apart, right? There's still a boundary in Aquarius, but it expands. And we have to understand that with Saturn through Aquarius, all of last year and all of this year, that our own personal boundaries, our own personal expectations of self, our own beliefs in ourself, our own beliefs in what is possible for us are getting bigger. We, in the way that the universe, you know how they always say that the universe is like a balloon with a bunch of pennies glued on it, and someone is blowing up the balloon and it just kind of expands. And as the balloon expands, the pennies get further and further away from each other. There's kind of like this sort of universal expansion going on in your life here. And there's an adjustment period happening. And adjustments right? I told you guys, 2022 is a Venus year. This is a year of adjustments. And because we started off with the Venus retrograde, she was really saying, okay, are you really ready? Like, you say you want this stuff, so we got to really get you ready for this stuff. You say you want that relationship. You say you want that money. You say you want all these things that is more than what you've been resonating at for the past few years. So if that's what you say you want and that's what you're trying to manifest in your life, well, then we're going to do it, but you're going to have to deal with what comes with getting prepared for that. So you're like getting ready to be ready for this. And this new moon especially is kind of like the activation of the more pleasurable growth. Because I think last year was very uncomfortable with the Saturn-Uranus square. And the Venus retrograde so far has also made that uncomfortable. And yet we know that there is a higher reason for that. Saturn, as much as I always describe him as a coach rather than a cheerleader, right? Jupiter, kind of a cheerleader energy, whereas Saturn is the coach. And I always describe like an Olympic athlete. And the coach is there very specifically to ensure that that athlete gets the gold medal. But in order to do that, the coach has to be very critical, has to be very harsh, has to be very real, and it has to push, right? But for all intents and purposes, it absolutely wants the best of the best of the best for you, which means you have to hold yourself accountable and say, do I really want the best of the best of the best for me? Because if you don't really, then Saturn is going to feel very uncomfortable and Saturn is going to feel like he bears down on you. But if you live into what you say you want to live into, then you get to kind of bust the game wide open. You get to completely change all the rules here, and you get to actually at least go to the Olympics so you can actually play in the Olympic Games. Okay, so you're leveling up, and the process of leveling up, not super pretty, not super comfortable, but also I think in many ways feels like a breath of fresh air, because you've been wanting this stuff for a very long time. And Venus over the past few weeks has really shown you where you have been restricted and where you have held yourself back simply because of what's going on in your head. Because of the narratives that you tell yourself or the external influence of what other people say is possible for you. And she, who always wants to follow her bliss, is starting to separate very clearly between what she and her higher self truly is seeking in this life and quieting out the noise of society in a really big way. So there's a purity, there's a clarity that is coming forward. This new moon absolutely helping with clarity. I would say that if you're going to do a new moon ceremony, it's a new moon, so we want to manifest, or initiate some kind of manifestation here. I would say that if you can incorporate an element of clarity, Aquarius is very much of the mind, into whatever else you're trying to manifest, that would be a good strategy for you if you're doing a ceremony thing, to invite clarity into your life and into your mind. Mercury retrograde here in his Mercury decan within Capricorn, he is readjusting himself here. He's able, now remember, this particular Mercury decan is actually the Virgo aspect of Mercury, not the Gemini aspect. The Virgo aspect is very detailed, highly analytical, and a little bit more of a deep or a focused thinker rather than going around and gathering a whole bunch of information. This is about one specific honed in area of your life. It could be financial, because I know Capricorn, we've got Mars in Capricorn, we have a Venus relationship here. So, there's money and materialistic things are going to continue to be a focus for the whole of 2022. Next year, as we move into a 7-year, it will be a lot more spiritual. But this year, we're going to really, really hone in on the material aspects of life. And you can get very specific with the way that you think about material things, with the way that you think about material success and rewards and accolades and recognition and big piles of money and cars in the garage and all that kind of stuff, okay? And Mercury coming into this conjunction here with his retrograde with Pluto says that it's time for an outmoded way of thinking to truly die. It has to die. You have to let it go. You have to be able to breathe and reboot here and allow your mind to shift. Otherwise, you're just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over. And I don't think anyone really wants that. I don't think that that's the goal of anyone here. It's just that that's very easy to do because of the level of discomfort that the stars may have been putting you through over the past few months. Remember, I've said it so many times, but we have to remember that the past few months have been highly foundational. It's about setting a new foundation. And the beginning of that is all in the mind, and it's in the heart as well. And the foundation of getting what you truly want is first admitting that you really want that thing. And to admit that you want it, and to alleviate all of the resistant narratives around that thing. The narratives about impossibility, the narratives about how hard you're going to have to work, the narratives about whatever. Just let those narratives go. Now this week we also have Jupiter in a really positive aspect here in a sextile with Mars and Venus as well. So this even adding to the breath of fresh air that this Venus direct hopefully will bring. Jupiter is here to remind you that there is a higher order. Your mind right now and what you can see and what you can perceive, very limited, versus the whole of the metaphysical spectrum, the whole of the vibrational reality of all that is actually going on. It's important to remember that there is more going on than what you can see with your eyeballs. Pisces operates in the realm, in the psychic realm, in the telepathic realm, beyond the visual, beyond the senses. He promotes faith, and he's going to bring faith to the things that you've been so focused on, the things you've been so worried about, the things you've been working to change, the things that have challenged you. Not to mention that these are also going to be, this Venus is going to also be an aspect here, and again, a positive aspect with Uranus as well. So Jupiter with Uranus energy, a little bit of Chiron energy, because it's definitely a little bit painful. It's a little bit, it's a little, it seems very final, right? It's like you cannot in any way, shape, or form live in that painful place anymore. That painful place that somehow got comfortable. That place of trauma analysis, that place of living through your wounds. Now remember, I said this a while ago. I think it was before Christmas when I was talking about Chiron moving into the Sun Decan of Aries. Because right now it's at 9 degrees 15 minutes, which is still within the Mars or the Aries Decan of Aries. And this Mars energy gave us, that desire to really go in and find where the pain really was. But as Chiron moves into the Sun Decan this year, I'm reminded of that Rumi quote that says, "The wound is where the light enters you." And I feel like your wounding, your pain, is actually going to start, I don't know, like the words that are coming to my mind is you're going to start cashing in on that. It's going to start becoming a valuable asset for you. It's going to start becoming a part of your life that actually is beneficial and actually brings blessings, rather than just kind of like always being in like, yeah, well, I was abused as a child, or I had this really nasty divorce, or so-and-so cheated on me, or my friend, took all my money and ran, or, all these traumas that we have, they no longer become traumas because they become a part of the wealth that is your life experience that triggers this gold mine that exists within all of us. And the sun offering more than just healing and more than just insight, but rather creativity and a connection with source through that pain. And Chiron being involved with this Venus retrograde with a square, and then Mars coming through here, it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's like the last moment or whatever, because we'll have Venus going around and Mars will go around year after year after year. Chiron will always be aspecting something at some point. But for now, we get to call our traumas out for what they are, and we get to close the door on things by saying, I'm never going back. It doesn't feel like that's my destiny. It doesn't feel like that's where I'm meant to be. It doesn't feel like this is going to be my path. I'm grateful for the experience, but I'm not going back there. And you release it. You get to release it. You get to untether yourself. This week in my weekly bump that I did on Monday, I started using my untethered soul cards, which I haven't used in forever, but I love the name of that, the untethered soul, because it indicates the freedom. And I feel that this Venus retrograde very much sets us free. Sets us free by creating stuff, but it sets us free. And it doesn't just set us free from, a recent circumstance. It sets us free from a long-standing pattern in our lives that is never going to become useful ever again. It's never useful from this point moving forward. And I don't remember if I finished this thought. I remember starting it, but I don't think I finished it. But the whole of 2022 being a 6th year, which is ruled by Venus, it's all about finding adjustment. It is all about finding balance within things, all about coming into an equilibrium point. Ironic, given this Kala Sarpa yoga, which is where all the planets are on one side of the nodes, very out of balance. But see, we needed this out of balance thing to focus so heavily on one area so that we could heal this or let go of this or find freedom from this or whatever from this, so that the other side then can also be, have our true and full and real attention as well, so that we can have, it's like out of balance for the sake of balance. And because the nodes now, again, North Node in Taurus, there is this materialization or this actualization process going on, but only through alchemical transformation through the South Node. South Node in Scorpio is absolutely going to give us the power, the wherewithal, the determination to be able to go into our darkest places and not be held hostage by those things. Because as much as Scorpio is about, death and transformation and, energetic exchange and all that kind of stuff, we have to always remember that there is the rebirth part of Scorpio. Over the next year and a half, it is kind of like a baptism. It's a cleansing process, right? Scorpio, we have the serpent, king of the earth. We have the eagle, king of the sky. coming together at war, and they intertwine so tightly that they literally implode on one another. That is the burning and going to ashes, and then rises the phoenix from the ashes. There is always the rising, Phoenix rising, Scorpio rising that comes through with this. And the rising is going to provide, or is going to be actualized through the material world in some way, shape, or form. More financial freedom, more luxurious life, more enjoyment, more pleasure of life, more passion, more appreciation for the physical. I mean, it's powerful stuff. It is a baptism. We are cleansing. We are going through this overhaul. And we are changing. And people that don't change are going to go through massively painful experiences because they are clinging on to an illusion. And there's really not a lot you can do about that except let them do what they have to do, you know. But you can consciously be baptized. You can consciously transform without the painful experiences that come with clinging, you know. It's kind of a big week. I think we're all going to feel a little bit of relief with this Venus going direct. Okay. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. We're going to keep it short and sweet. You guys know I love you. I wish you nothing but the best. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.